dropping a bike happens to almost everyone, but with the right habits, you can avoid it completely. Now you see, I'm one of the biggest victims of dropping a motorcycle. During my early years of riding, because I have a short stature and a short torso of only 28 inches, and so I had a lot of issues in the beginning when I was stopping my motorcycle. My balance was off completely. I was braking too aggressively with my front brakes. Meanwhile, I should have been using my rear brakes at the last 15 miles per hour. This way I get a little bit more stability. So I was making some bad decisions, but that's because I was unaware of what I was doing wrong. And then later on, as I started taking courses, I started to learn that in order to stabilize the motorcycle, you need to apply a different technique, especially if you're a short rider like myself. But everything that I'm going to be teaching today applies to every single one of us. Doesn't matter if you're short or you're tall. That being said, one of the reasons why people drop their motorcycle is when it's completely stationary like this. So as an example, in 2020, when I bought my brand new Yamaha R6, I dropped that motorcycle right in my garage. Why? Because of this kickstand. Now you see, this kickstand, just like my R6, doesn't open up all the way. It doesn't have a tension for the spring. And the same thing for when you close it. Make sure with your foot, you kind of like do this to make sure it's fully open before you rest the motorcycle. That's one reason why people drop their motorcycle. The other reason, and I think this has a bigger contributing factor than the kickstand, is not using smooth throttle and clutch control. Simply because jerky movements can throw off the balance of the motorcycle. And then when you combine it with a rider's vision, or lack thereof, when they're riding their motorcycle, sometimes they look down. Never, ever, ever look down when you're riding. Because wherever you want to travel to, that's what the direction that you should be looking at. So if you're constantly looking down, there's a good probability that your motorcycle is going to go down along with you. What I usually say is that it starts with the eyes first, then it's the head, then it translates to the body, then it translates to the arms, and then it translates to the handlebars. So in that order is where everything happens. So a lot of the times when riders make mistakes and go off-road with their motorcycle or turn in the direction that they don't want to go, it's usually because of their vision. They're not looking where they want to go. And the same thing applies when you drop a motorcycle, because sometimes riders shouldn't be looking down, but they do it and eventually drop their motorcycle in a slow speed situation. So when you're riding under 10 miles an hour in a parking lot or in a gas station or going into your driveway, never ever look down. Look where you want to park the motorcycle, not on the floor. So let me go ahead and demonstrate for you how you can get a better grasp of your motorcycle. So this way you can have better throttle and clutch control in a slow speed environment. Some people call this a snail race, and other people like myself call it a slow race. But this tip here will teach you a lot about your throttle, about your clutch, and about how to have better balance with your motorcycle. Like right now I'm in a parking lot, as you can see here, and my speedometer is reading 0 miles per hour. My foot is not down right now, and all I'm doing is I'm feathering my clutch to give myself a little bit more speed or take away the speed simply by pulling in the clutch to disengage the transmission and let go of the clutch to re-engage the transmission. So this way I can get a little bit more speed. Now as you see, I gave myself too much speed there. The speedometer clocked at 4 or 5 miles an hour, but now I pulled it back in, I slowed myself down, and I'm simply moving my handlebar left and right to balance myself by using my steering input. As you can see, I'm moving it left and right. So this keeps my motorcycle balanced. Now this helps out a lot whenever you're going into parking lots, whenever you're going inside of your driveway, gas stations, anything for that matter, where you're going anywhere between 0 miles an hour and 5 to 10 miles an hour. This helps out immensely. Don't just go straight. Also make some turns while you're doing this. Slow turns. Doesn't have to be very abrupt. But right now I'm going to try to see if I can avoid hitting this thing over here, whatever this is in the front of me, this pillar, whatever you want to call it. You know, you don't have to necessarily go straight every time, but once in a while turn as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off now, and I'm going to demonstrate everything live on the road as it happens. But before that, I got a quick announcement. If you're struggling with balance and slow speed maneuvers, Motorcycle Mastery has drills like the snail race one that we just did that will make this second nature for you. So if you want to take advantage of the special launch price, I've included a link down below along with coupon codes. And now let's go ahead and take it on the road and talk about everything in real time as it happens. And I'll give you some good examples of how you can be very careful in traffic stops, in bends where you're not going that fast, and generally how to have better bike control and throttle control and clutch control, so you never end up dropping your bike like I did when I was first starting out. Because let me tell you, it hurts, man. No, not necessarily painful hurt. It just hurts your ego, makes you feel bad. And you got this nice shiny bike, you know, it's brand new, you just bought it, you love it, you wax it, you clean it every single week, and then seeing that thing on the floor with scuffed up fairings, it does damage to your brain. I don't want that to happen to you, because it's happened to me multiple times. So in a situation like this, we're doing 15 miles an hour. Guess what? I'm not using my front brakes. You should not be using your front brakes when you're doing less than 15 miles an hour. So my number one rule of riding a motorcycle these days, and I probably talked about this multiple times, but most of the time, like I said, you're dropping your motorcycle when you're doing slow speed maneuvers, parking lots, stop signs, red lights, things of that nature. Get used to using your rear brakes. Your rear brakes provide stability for you. As an example, let me go ahead and show you. Right now, my bike is very stable, as you can see. It's not going anywhere. But if I do that, when it's going 5 miles an hour, I'm going down with the bike. So right now, I'm using my rear. And then, as you can see, my bike is pretty stable. As a brand new rider, whenever I first got my bike, my KTM RC390, that thing was so cool. I love that thing. I ended up dropping that bike on a street like this where, out of nowhere, you know, the flow of traffic was similar to this, and then all of a sudden, flow of traffic slowed down to a crawl, and then a car abruptly stopped in front of me. I ended up pulling the front brakes and ended up dropping my bike. For a long time, I was perplexed about why that happened. And then later on, I learned that if you're going slow, less than, I would say, 5 miles an hour, and you end up slamming on your front brakes for an emergency type situation like I had, what happens is, if your wheel is turned even slightly, okay, even slightly, what usually will happen, perfect, red light, I can demonstrate for you now. So right now I'm coming to a stop, but if I had to emergency stop and my wheel was like this, and I slammed on my brakes because of whatever reason, then what's going to happen is that all of the weight from the motorcycle will transfer to the front. Let's go ahead and talk about weight transfer, because this is pretty important. So if you're using your front brakes, all the weight shifts to the front. If you're using your rear brakes, a small amount of weight transfers to the rear. If you're using engine braking just to slow yourself down, the weight of your motorcycle stays pretty much neutral. And if you're twisting your motorcycle's throttle, all of the weight transfers to the back as well. So here's some solutions for you to avoid having your motorcycle put too much weight in the front or in the rear, in order not to drop your motorcycle. Because the number one reason why a motorcycle drops is because of slow speed maneuvers, and a lot of times it has to do with the weight being shifted forward. So in order to stop the weight from shifting forward or avoiding it, in a parking lot type situation, do not use your front brakes. If you are going to use your front brakes, make sure that you're going above 10 to 15 miles an hour. The main takeaways that you should have here are not to use your front brakes whenever you're really slow inside of a parking lot, or just anywhere for that matter, under 5-10 miles an hour. Start using your rear brakes. That's number one. Number two, be very cognizant of weight shifts with your motorcycle. The other thing is, get used to riding really slow and not depending on throttle. If your speedometer is similar to mine and you can register 0 miles an hour, try practicing with that in a parking lot, and practice it with it for about maybe 5 minutes. You know, it doesn't really take that long. Before you go anywhere, go into a parking lot, even, you know, to like a local CVS parking lot, doesn't really matter. Go in there, or an empty parking lot, doesn't matter. Go there and just practice this, not only on a straight line, but a slight turn as well. It doesn't have to be a crazy turn where you're locking up your front wheel, either left or to the right, but just practice that, you know, taking very long wide turns, and feathering your clutch, as well as using your motorcycle's idle speed, and not using your brakes, but using your clutch to engage and disengage your transmission. And once you do that, and you apply some of the skills that I taught you, I don't think there's a chance that you'll ever drop your motorcycle. But anyway, I teach so much of this stuff in my motorcycle mastery course. Slow speed maneuvers, getting comfortable with your motorcycle, getting comfortable with your brakes, your throttle, how smooth it is and how smooth it might not be for you, but how smooth it can become. All these things are broken down into separate drills inside my motorcycle mastery course. So if you want to level up your riding, the program launches March 19th. There's a link down below. Just go check it out. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not for you, but if it's not for you, download the free guide. It's 120 pages, and it comes with a beginner's tutorial. It's about 36 minutes long. Lots and lots of good info in that, and hope you guys learned something from this. Drop a comment down below, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.